Pigma here, and so today we're going to be doing a video about dry brush illustration. This is the piece that I'll be starting with. This is going to be for a sketchbook slash art book that I'm working on for my Binary Star Kickstarter campaign. I will be using a variety of brushes, and I will be demonstrating how you can use the drying process of the ink on your brush to make for some really cool art. So yeah, I obviously don't know yet how this is going to turn out, and I'm as excited to find out as you are. Okay, so today I wanted to film the process of how I do this dry brush technique. Some of you might have seen the other illustration I did using that same technique. This is for the Binary Star like mini art book sketchbook thing I'm working on. So this is the one I did of Zaki, and then now I'm working on one of Spooky, and I had a lot of people ask me questions about like how I do that dry brush technique. So I figured I would show you guys. I don't know if I'm going to do the whole thing in this video because it could take a while, but I figure I can at least show you some of it. Sorry, I know the lighting's not super great. I'm never well prepared for these things. But anyways, the ink that I use is Windsor Newton. It's like very dark black. That's what I like about it. And then I have a variety of different brushes that I use. I'm probably mostly going to use this one, I think, but we'll see. These brushes can really change their moods a lot, and it's really hard to say sometimes what's gonna work and what's gonna end up being a big pain in the ass. So basically what I do is I take my bottle of Windsor Newton, and this might sound a little strange, but I make sure there's ink on the dropper, right? And I'm actually going to use the end of my dropper to get ink on the brush, because for this technique you really don't want to have too much ink happening at any given time, or it's going to be a huge disaster. So got a little black there. Now the trick is to find what are going to be the darkest areas, and you start there, and as there's less and less ink on the brush, you can start to make those fog effects happen. So I really want the shadows to start over here. So I'm putting down black. Now you see how you're already getting this like this happening, right? Where it's like the less ink there is, the more like hazy and foggy and gray it gets. That's like a good thing, because I want a gradient to happen. So I'm already going to start taking advantage of that. We got like this really light gray going on, so I'm just immediately going to start using that, because I want there to be this like kind of gradient shadow here. And as long as that's going on, I'm just gonna take advantage of that in several places, I think. About open over here. Maybe a little over here. And definitely here. Now I definitely kept the pencil lines like a little more bold than I normally would, just because like it makes it easier for you guys to see, but normally I would actually like fade those out almost completely. And that's my roommate. Sorry, I'm just doing a quick recording over here. Showing people how to do dry brush. Poorly, as usual. So anyways, I just put a little bit more black on my brush. And you see I'm going back into the darkest areas here. But yeah, anyways, as I was saying, I did keep these pencil lines a little darker than I normally would. A lot of times, like, I will fade these out with like a kneaded eraser, like so much that like you like can't even see where the pencil actually is. But I just didn't think that was going to show up on camera super great, so hopefully that won't confuse me too much though, because like you know, sometimes the gray of the pencil might look like ink, and then I'm like, oh, I don't need to put anything over there, and then when I erase the pencil lines, I'm going to be like, ah, crap, I missed a bunch of spots. Anyways, so yeah, I'm just basically, yeah, you start in the darkest possible areas and work your way to the lighter areas. Because the less ink on your brush, the grayer it gets. And it is a slow process. It can actually be pretty much like a total pain in the ass, because sometimes like it feels like you're just like going over the same areas over and over and like nothing is changing. I've even done like tests on this where like I'll photograph a spot and then I'll go back over it and I'm like, did anything change? And it does, it's just subtle. So if you want to get good at this kind of technique, patience is a virtue. But it looks super cool, so I feel like it's really worth it. Okay, so this particular character here, this is Spooky from my webcomic series Binary Star. He presents a lot of odd challenges, to be perfectly honest. Like Zaki was easy, right? Because this is just like a person. This is like a normal human face. You know, Spooky's an alien. So like a lot of times shadows aren't gonna like work on him the way that like they would on other people, right? Like his nose is like flat in a way that's very alien. It's almost like snake-like. You know, he's got these weird eye things going on. His face is also like really long. So like I had like a helpful reference photo pulled up when I first drew this out, just to like help me figure out where shadows like do go on a person's face. But like it's only gonna like help me get so far with this particular character, unfortunately, because he does have a very strange face. But that's alright. I mean, shadows are kind of weird, like no matter what you do anyways. Like, I don't know, I like, it always makes me nervous like working with shadows, because I feel like sometimes you have to do things that seem like counterintuitive almost, where it's like, am I ruining this? Am I blocking out something I shouldn't? Like, am I like making a mistake that is going to be like impossible to fix later? So in my experience, which to be honest in the world of shadows isn't a lot, because my comic is very like pop art style, black and white, but in my experience, you really just have to go for it. Like, there's really no other way around it. You just gotta wing it, and if something doesn't work, like, just find a way to fix it later. Here's a kind of a bit of a conundrum. So his hair is white, right? So like his eyebrows are white. So it's, again, this is exactly what I was just talking about. It's like, okay, so how much do I put in shadow then without it looking like, oh, he has one black eyebrow. I think what I'm going to try to do is just put it into some kind of shadow. And then I'll probably like only slightly shadow this one. Just kind of give the illusion of what I'm talking about. The other tricky thing is, so his eyes are actually inverted. This part should be black instead of white. That's like, what do they call that? The sclera? The sclera should be black. So that's going to present like a bit of a challenge because it's a little weird. Let's get some more ink on this brush. In my experience, the best brushes to use for this kind of technique are like ones that have like a bit of a flat edge, but not like super thin. You want there to be like some width to that as well, because you'll get like the most haziness out of it. Just make this a little wider. But you also get like a little control, right? Like, see how I'm able to get a bit of an edge here? I can't do that with like a brush that's just like strictly fluffy on the end. Okay, so now another thing is he's got white eyelashes, so I'm actually probably going to come back in at the end and add those in with a white gel pen, because trying to get shadow details here where it's like that small is just not going to happen with this sort of hazy thing. I mean, maybe someone out there can control the brush to that degree. I sure as hell can't. But you know, in the art world there's a lot of prodigy, so probably someone out there is like watching this being like, ugh, I can't believe she's like gonna use a gel pen in post. But you know what, I'm a firm believer in art at any cost. So if you ever feel like I really want to do this thing but it feels like cheating or something, it's not. Just like, don't worry about it. If you made art happen, you made art happen. That's cool. Don't let people bring you down when it comes to gel pens. They're great. So yeah, as you can see, like I've definitely gone back in to a few areas like over and over and over. And there is a lot of that. It's like backtracking the technique. Okay. You know, I'm gonna mark the border where his, oh, hold on. Yeah, I want to mark the border where his hair is really quick. Just because I think it looks kind of weird right now. Again, just getting some ink on this brush. I wonder if I can do this entire thing with just this one brush. I kind of doubt it, but like now it's like a challenge, and now I want to see if I can do it. Okay, so yeah, over here is the edge where his hair is. I wanted this to be like the opposite of the Zaki one, right? Where like with hers there's like a black background because her hair is black. But Spooky has white hair. The comic's called Binary Star after all. There's a bit of a like little opposite theme going on. So technically via his hair, the background of this one is going to be white. And that way it'll like hopefully pair up really nicely with Zaki's. Okay, actually, alright, I'm actually going to switch brushes, but since there is still a little bit of this dry ink on here, let me just use that up first. I feel like this technique can seem a little wasteful sometimes if you like don't totally know what you're doing. Because sometimes it might seem like you're like, you know, especially like if you don't have a lot of black in the piece, you might have like a separate piece of paper where you're like, okay, I gotta get rid of this black. And it's like kind of wasting it. So something I'll do sometimes is I'll actually line up several illustrations. Like if I had been working on this one simultaneously, I might be like going back and forth between them being like, okay, let's get some like black off the brush and then like some gray over here and then some black and gray like that, to avoid wasting ink. Because, you know, this stuff doesn't grow on trees. Or does it? Where does ink come from? Actually, I have no idea. Sorry. I'm actually really dumb. So maybe that was a dumb statement, but I guess I should say I don't have infinite money is the more correct issue here. But yeah, as you can see, like slowly but surely, like a face of some kind is starting to take shape, right? Even if it's a strange alien face. You can also see that this isn't taking super long to do. That's just because I've done this a lot. This kind of technique used to be extraordinarily time consuming for me, but I practiced like the hell out of this. Yeah, so I'm gonna switch brushes really quick here. I want, see this one here? This one's got the fluffier end. It didn't come like that, but I just like beat the hell out of it doing the dry brush thing. So it's really, really good. I'm actually just gonna dip this right in the inkwell. Yeah. This one's really good for these like bigger areas. Because it really gets that fluffy haze action going. Sometimes you do have to kind of break these in as you go. Like this one doesn't feel like it's quite ready to cooperate. So I'm kind of just like, do what I tell you, and little by little it will start to behave. But yeah, this is it's a lot of guesswork. Like I'm only making it look like I totally know what I'm doing, but I really don't. Especially with Spooky. I mean, his face is very odd. It may not seem like it is. It might be like, oh, but he's humanoid, right? Like, how bad could it be? But it's like, well, shadows are really finicky, and it's really easy to make a shadow look really bad, and the human eye detects that sort of thing really quickly. It's the same reason why bad CGI in movies is like so painful to look at. It's because a lot of times, especially if they didn't use like real like models, what do you call that? You know, when they had like real people like acting out the scenes, then the lighting and the shadows is like not quite correct on the like final like CGI, and the human eye just like goes right to it. Like we know you can't trick us. I will say this brush isn't being super cooperative today. Sometimes it's the weather. It can be really hard to say like why a brush is or isn't doing what you ask of it. I'm actually going to switch to this is a fine brush pen. I just really want to like mark out a few areas where I feel like things look a little weird right now. Like I can already see like I need more shadow there, like that looks very strange. Okay, and I think these nostrils need to be bigger, like way bigger. And then here, yeah, I think I want to like define his eyes a lot better, because right now he just looks strange. And the problem is, like, the stranger he looks, the more confusing it looks to me, the more likely I am to make a fatal error. So yeah, so I'm gonna mark, this should be where his eyes are, basically. I like these fine liner pens because it's like something between a brush and a micron, where it's like I can get a really thin line like a micron, but I'm not like, you know, lacking in any depth whatsoever. I like to use really small microns, and sometimes it's like you put down a line and it's so thin that it's like, did I even actually do anything just now? Okay. It's nice to see his face really starting to come together. Okay, so his irises are like here-ish. And then here would be like where like that fleshy part of the eye is. Same over here. I always want to make sure that the lid's a little visible at the bottom there too, because it like makes it look more like three-dimensional, I think. Okay. Now the rest of this is actually black, but I feel like it needs like some kind of highlight. Well, okay. This is where it gets a little questionable. I'm gonna use a really small brush. I actually cut the ends of this brush to make it that small. I'm not totally sure this one's gonna do exactly what I need it to, but let's try it. So yeah, that's what I mean when I talk about like, don't ever let someone tell you you're cheating. Like, I could see someone being like, I can't believe you like cut the end of your brush bristles, like what a monster. And it's like, this brush was old and dying, and I needed it to do a certain thing, and now it does that thing for me. I don't want to make his eyes too dark, because his species has like that cool glowing eye thing going on. They're like snow monsters. So I don't want to like totally lose that effect. Ugh. Working on Spooky's face right now, it just makes me want to scream like, why can't you just be normal? Why do you have to be an alien? And then I remember that my comic is about like racism and xenophobia, and then I feel bad for saying that because that makes me sound racist against aliens. Aliens that I designed. He's got a bit of an eyelid here. Should probably kind of dip down a bit. Yeah, okay. Bit more of a brow bone shadow. I mean, I don't even know how much brow bone this guy really even has. His face is very like, kind of flat and snake-like. Yeah, I think in the end his eyebrow is pretty much going to disappear, but that's okay. That's fine. So tricky. Shadows should always kind of come out to like halfway point of the nose, and it always feels like it's going too far. But like, you just sort of have to do it. And I feel like that shadow probably needs to go out farther too. Yeah, see, I missed my chance here. I was trying to get like a gradient, and then I used up all the ink on my brush like an idiot. That's okay. That's why like you kind of have to move all around the page for this until you get things exactly the way you want it. Well, that just was a total fail. Okay, what the hell? Get some ink on the damn brush. See what I mean about these little bastards not cooperating? Oh my gosh. Okay, fine. Let's dip this thing. I think it's because my ink is running low. Like there's not a lot left in the actual jar. Probably don't really need to bother with a jawline. I think it's like the shadow's gonna go straight into the neck, but just in case. Now, can I do this? I just want like a bit of a highlight here. I think it's too soon. All right, I'll come back to that. Well, this should probably be, yeah. Ugh. I am not actually good at shadows. I'm really, really not. But I do the best I can. That's where like that kind of pain in the ass sort of thing comes from. There we go. I know it's like kind of subtle, right? But subtle's good. Subtle is what I wanted. Are these sort of eyelid shadows? I had the advantage of being someone that wears makeup, so I know where to kind of put the right highlights for this sort of thing. Highlight, this should be really dark. Definitely needs more of a brow bone. Yeah, I'm gonna go in and add the pupil. Why not? It's like something like that. Pupil seems a little big, but meh, whatever. It's a freaking comic book character. I kind of got my start doing a lot of like manga, and I think sometimes it shows, right? These characters have like giant monster eyes. Seems really weird. It's fine. Actually, while I'm at it, Spooky's people have like really wide mouths. It's like, I feel like it's like not as noticeable sometimes as some of their other features being strange. But I actually feel like the width of their mouth is like the most jarringly alien thing about them, like for me as someone who has to draw them a lot. Because it's just not quite right somehow. Again, like mark these spaces out because that just helps me. Yeah. Yeah, something like that. Sort of coming together, right? A little bit. I know watching this is probably like a little terrifying because it just looks like a whole lot of disaster that doesn't seem to be heading to a good conclusion, which I can understand. Again, here's that issue of like I'm coming up against this line here. It's like, how much do I want that to show? How weird am I gonna make this? I don't know. I don't want it to be gone. At the same time, I can't defy the laws of shadow physics entirely. So, something like that. Sort of, kind of like that. Notice how I went into this with a really poor lack of planning. But I think when it comes to like weird aliens and things, sometimes you have to just kind of figure it out as you go. Like I don't have a alien skull reference here, so it is what it is. I definitely don't want this to be too light because it's kind of weird. See how there's still some wet ink over there? I stole it. So I take advantage of the situation. I'm not like super fond of this highlight. It's okay. I'm definitely gonna kind of get rid of it a bit. Not totally though. There's that glow. Glow, glow, glow. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Now something I might do with this one, I haven't done this in a while, but I may come back with white ink and actually reverse dry brush this. That is something I have not done in a very long time, and it could be a really, really just awful idea. So I think what I'll do is I'll probably split this video in two if I do that, and do a second video about the white part, because thinking ahead here, that would give me time to scan this so that I'll have a not ruined copy in case my idea ends up being horrible. Modern problems require modern solutions. I mean, man, Spooky, do you even have a nose bridge? I mean, I really don't know. Like, sort of? A little bit? Got a weird skeleton, my boy. Once again, I know I want this sclera to be black, but I don't want it to be completely black like this one, because again, this is all about illusion, and you have to have the illusion that this side of the face is lighter. And so to kind of cheat that a little bit, I won't make this black. It'll be like very, very, very dark gray. And I won't even like put a lot of shadow over here either. Probably shouldn't have made this line so dark, but too late to take it back now. Now, Spooky's a young character. He's like 18, 19, something like that. Whatever his equivalent is with his species. but for some reason I just give all of my characters like horrible bags under their eyes, like no matter how old they are. I think it's just because I have horrible bags under my eyes. So, it's representation. I can't even say that with a straight face. Shout out to my sleep deprived people. Oh, God. I think this year is starting to get to me. Okay. Yeah, I want to define the lip a little bit more. Not too much, though. Especially because I always pictured Spooky's people having kind of thin lips because it adds to that, like, weird, like, wide smile thing they've got going on. Yeah, you know what? I don't think this idea over here is working super great. Kill your darlings, right? Goodbye line. I'm not gonna get rid of it completely, but it's definitely not, like, it looks weird. Like, it looks like I cheated and didn't know what I was doing. Because I didn't. At some point soon, I'm probably gonna have to erase the pencil lines, to be honest. Just to make sure I'm not, like actually missing something obvious. Sometimes I'll think like, oh, I did a really good job like defining shadows in this one area, and then I finally erase it and it's like, oh, well, it was the pencil. Actually, I'm gonna switch back to my handy dandy brush over here. The sort of flat one. Oh, there's way too much ink on that. Why did I dip that? That was stupid. Well, that's okay. It just means that these areas will look nice and dark now, which is totally fine. Need to do a neck shadow anyways, right? I don't want to go too far with it or it's going to look like he just has a really long face. Something like that. Okay. Honestly, this shadow should probably just basically come all the way down to this edge of his lip. I think. Like that. Sorta. Spooky, you have a weird face. Okay. Yeah, you know what? Nope. I don't like it. It's gone. Bye. Didn't work. That was a terrible plan. Farewell. Actually, I think his nose looks a little too wide. Again, this is like a weird snake-nosed alien. I don't know why I gave them like snake noses. Well, I sort of do. One of the early inspirations for the design of Spooky was actually Rem from Death Note. Hence the kind of snaky, sometimes almost like skull-like features. I think for the most part, he really does not show a whole lot of Rem influence in his looks as far as the final product of Binary Star goes. There's like a little bit of that still there. Man, lips shapes are so hard. It's a lot of guesswork here. Yeah, and sometimes the brush like leaves these like stupid sploosh marks. And it's really hard to control it. So sometimes I just have to shrug and be like, it's texture. Especially because the paper I'm working on is very heavily toothed. Rough paper. I actually generally don't like to work on paper this rough. But it was the closest notebook I had nearby. I'm probably gonna have to come back in later and kind of add some smaller details back in. Define the lip a little better here. And fade these shadows. It's the gradients that are so hard to get sometimes. If you want to have that really fine gradient where you can't see the spots where it's changing shades of gray too easily. And that requires just going back and forth over certain areas, like over and over and over and over and over. That's why I said when it comes to doing dry brush, patience is a virtue. It really, really is. I don't yet know how much I want to like define those edges. Because too much and it'll kind of like ruin the effect a little bit. My Windsor Newton ink bottle is definitely running out of ink. That's okay, I have a backup one somewhere. I just want to make sure that I use up this one though, just because it's good not to be wasteful. Oh jeez. Well, sometimes it does get to the point where it's like, this bottle is really, really trying my last nerve. But that's okay. Sometimes having like another coating of black ink, I think looks really good, because sometimes like that first coating you can sort of see through it on the paper a little. It's like a little like, cheap and crappy looking. Okay. Now the other thing is like you always want to push the shadows as much as you can. Like if you think you're going too far, chances are you're not even going quite far enough. Because the more contrast there is, just like the more interesting it looks, you know? Yeah, I still hate that. I don't know how far to go with his nose. I really, really don't. This is like the alien dilemma of like, this isn't the human nose I'm dealing with, so like, what do I do with it? I don't want these areas to be quite as black as the other areas. But I have a feeling when I scan this, it's gonna look that way anyways, so whoops. Well. too, so that neckline isn't so harsh. Sometimes I feel like this is almost more like using a powder. You know, you're kind of like dabbing at it like a powder. That, once again, might be where like my experience with makeup probably came in handy. Because sometimes it does feel really, really similar to like using like a foundation powder on somebody's face. I'm not quite sure how far to go with some of this. It's too far and it'll start to look a little bit weird. I definitely think he needs more nose shadow though. That's where like my nerves start to show, where I'm like, oh, I'm too afraid to go too far because I'm gonna ruin it. I feel like I've definitely neglected this eye over here. I could tell I was like unsure about it, so I was just like avoiding it. I'm not like super in love with that eye. Might be another come back later and fix it in post situation. We'll see. This is where I just start to kind of like seal in some details. Add a lot of like finishing touches to things. It's actually kind of cool how he just has like this one like right there. It wasn't like totally where I meant to go with that, but like I'm not mad about it. I don't know how far to. I got like brow bone over here. Nose bridge. Kind of like that, sort of. Sure. I don't know. What do I look like, an artist? Leave me alone. Definitely not taking this. I think we need a little bit more bags under the eyes for that inclusivity life. Yeah, the eyes are where the trouble comes in. How to like not make them look too weird. How do I make this alien look less like an alien? I definitely want to get rid of that. That's like just that eyelid thing started to look very cartoonish. Not good. Although bear in mind I am going to come back in and add in the eyelashes later. think those highlights are partial. It was making it too cartoony. It's like a little bit better. It's not great, but it's better. Gonna push these nostril shadows. We're actually getting really close to being done. This is kind of just like the perfectionist part, where I just keep doing stuff to this because nothing's ever good enough. I do wonder if I should just frame the face, or if something would kind of get like lost if I did that. I don't know. I'm really torn on that one. Definitely not digging his lips entirely either. I feel like I should have done more to those, so I will. Let me just get rid of some of this damn black ink though. Push this area. It's like eyebrows look strange. I think again it's like the brow bone situation was just getting kind of weird. Eyebrows are tricky because it's like, obviously they're not going to be perfect on somebody's face, alien or otherwise. If you like make them too perfect, then it's going to look, again with that cartoonish issue. I like that he looks a little concerned, where he's like, oh my god, why haven't you stopped? You're going to ruin me. It's in character though. Spooky always looks a little concerned about something. I just don't know how these nose shadows got so strange. I think noses are probably like one of my biggest artistic weaknesses. Sorry if these scratching noises are like really annoying. Any consolation, they annoy me too. See, I have a feeling when I erase the pencil, his like eyebrows are gonna completely vanish, and I'm gonna be really mad at myself. I am gonna call it pretty soon though, only because I will definitely soon run the risk of like pushing it too hard, you know, and then you do end up ruining something. I think one of the most important things you can learn in art is knowing when to say enough. Let me redefine these a little bit. Again, that's just making good use of extra ink on the brush. Just want to decide how far to take it with the lips. You know, part of it too is like, so these are ice monsters, right? So like, I feel like if you go too far with it, you don't want their lips to look like too colored, because you don't want like a snow monster to look warm, right? There should be a little corpsiness there. Which is probably another reason why I went with Rem from Death Note originally as inspiration, because I was looking for how to convey that corpsiness. Who would have thought this would turn into just like an hour of me doing a nose over and over again? Is this interesting for you? If you're still watching this, I commend you. Definitely getting close here. I can feel it. Definitely want to get rid of some of these hard edges. They are very unsightly. Another thing, sometimes if you go back into an area where like some ink is sitting, the ink will have dried a little bit, and you can kind of double dip it to get some like extra texture. I'm trying to be very, very light with the brush here because it's going to be really easy to like add too many last minute details. Just destroy everything. Definitely need to push these lips. They are so dull looking. Like, I know these are some frosty snow people, but that doesn't mean they should look absolutely, utterly dead. Double dipping. Double dip that brush. That's a lot better. I'm glad I went back in on that. I think we're almost done. Definitely almost done. But this is just like the part where I want to make sure things are perfect, you know? Because sometimes like those small, teeny tiny little extra details really can make or break this thing. They add like that extra bit of life in there. That extra like a jolt of realism. Even for aliens. I have to be so careful because this brush is like easy to get too much ink because I'm trying not to dip it into this bottom pool of like last minute ink in this jar. Still not like madly in love with the eyebrows, but I mean, I don't think there's like too much I can really do about it at this point. Some of that I'll figure out in post. By the way, when I say post, I'm not talking about like Photoshop and stuff. I just mean like things like gel pens and stuff like that. Like stuff where I come back in later and I'm like, boy, I don't like how I left that. I wasn't sure if I was going to put that there, but screw it. I did it. Yeah, definitely. Yep. Again, those like little final touches, they can really make it better. Never say die until you're like totally sure. so close. This is like where it gets exciting because I feel like I can like really see the finish line. I wonder how many bottles of ink I've gone through in my life. I should have kept count. I would love to know. I'm sure it's obscene. But I mean, like, it is my job, so yeah. This damn eye, man, it's giving me so much trouble. It wouldn't be a binary star character if they didn't look like they were wearing excessive amounts of eyeshadow by the end, right? I kind of like to find that eyebrow just a little. I just feel like it's a little silly looking, right? A little bit. Like, I know it's not gonna be perfect, but like a little better. Double dip. Well, okay. I think I am basically gonna call it at this point. I think this is pretty good. I'm not gonna erase the pencil lines on camera just because I don't want to risk smearing anything just yet. But I think we've pretty much got it. I might make some like final changes at the end, you know, just like a few last minute like aesthetic choices after I've kind of like ruminated on it for a bit. But I think it looks pretty good. What do you guys think? Do you like it? Did you learn something? Did you learn that I'm not actually that good at art? It was all a lie. Yeah. I think pretty much done. And like I said, when I've like ruminated on it for a bit longer, I I will make a decision about whether or not I want to use any white ink as like a dry brush thing. I don't know. I've done it in the past where it worked out really great, and I've done it in the past where it turned out just terrible. So I don't know. That's part of the reason I stopped doing it super often, was because I was having some situations where like it just didn't end up being a good plan. One time that was during a live demonstration at a school. That sucked. I was embarrassed. So it kind of like turned me off of that for a while, but that's why I'm gonna scan this, make sure I have a saved copy that I can use in the binary star sketchbook that I'm working on. And that'll give me the freedom I need to potentially ruin this thing without regret. Well, some regret. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna call it for now. So, I'm gonna put my handy dandy little signature. Did y'all know that this signature is my initials? A lot of people don't seem to know that. Cause see, it's a J, right? And then it's a P. Jamie Premack. I think in all my years of doing Comic-Cons and stuff, I've had like maybe 1 or 2 people figure that out without me saying anything. Okay, anyways, that's all for now. And I hope you learned something. I hope that wasn't too painful. And I hope you enjoyed. So, thanks everyone. Bye.